Today on the podcast, I wanted to cover something that's been kind of going on for a while, and that is that you probably heard that earlier this year, the Writers Guild of America, the WGA, they went on strike. They had a bunch of issues with AI being used in movies and for writing and all sorts of things, so they kind of had the strike. AI was a big part of that strike, and I know I've covered it in a number of podcasts, kind of how that went, but as many know, some may not, the writer's strike is now over. I think this thing wrapped up in September, kind of the tail end of September. So I wanted to kind of break down how the AI negotiations actually shook out and what the kind of final verdict on all of this was, where everyone settled. So this is what we're going to be diving into on the podcast. Let's get into it. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. If you are interested in seeing really interesting AI use cases, make sure to follow me over on x.com, formerly Twitter, as I will be sharing some really cool use cases of AI, and I kind of, retweet some of the greatest things I'm seeing in the space every day. So make sure to follow me at Jaden_AI. I'll drop a link to that, but also my handle is in the podcast cover. I would love to have you in the community. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. The long-running Writers Guild of America strike, which is stretched to, it essentially was around, I think, 5 months. It closed off at the end of last month. And this is kind of what happened. Essentially, screenwriters are going to be back at their desks now with, this new inked contract that kind of speaks to the rapidly changing landscape of Hollywood and some of the unique challenges brought by emerging technologies and artificial intelligence. So one of the challenges, of course, is really how AI is impacting the world of screenwriting. So for those on kind of the fringes of the industry, it might be surprising to hear that text-based generative AI tools like ChatGPT, while definitely limited to their creative capabilities, have become really a focal point to a lot of these deliberations. However, the concern isn't purely about AI capabilities. As comedy writer Adam Conover recently said, he said, quote, "I'm not worried about the technology. I'm worried about the companies using the technology that is not, in fact, very good to undermine our working conditions," right? So, of course, he's saying, he's like, I'm not worried that technology is going to be better than me. I'm just worried that a big corporation is going to use it because it's cheaper, and then, they're going to create poor quality content. So that's, where he stands on that. So the WGA's new agreement essentially spells out plainly, it's not that writers are against AI per se. I mean, to be honest, I'm sure many of them will be using it for a lot of the stuff they're doing. They're just against its potential misuse. So the contract prohibits studios from employing AI for writing or rewriting scripts. Further, AI-generated content won't be acknowledged as source material, which kind of ensures that writers aren't denied credits before, because of AI's hand in the process. So what I think is really interesting here is, on the one hand, they're like, yeah, no one can use AI to write scripts or to rewrite scripts, but how is anyone going to actually know what was written by AI? I know different people are working on the technology, different people are trying to tackle that problem, but OpenAI itself, as we all know, came out with their AI text classifier technology to essentially, identify AI written text, and they shut the thing down 3 months later or 4 months later because they're like, this is too hard, this is not going to work. Maybe they'll come up with something in the future, but as it stands, it's very difficult to know what's, written by AI. And furthermore, I use AI a lot when I'm trying to write, concepts or articles or notes or emails or things. And it's not like I just say, hey, write X, Y, and Z, and it does it. I'm like, write X, Y, and Z, include these facts, do it in this order, make sure you touch on this topic. Here's a bunch of background, here's a bunch of context, here's my previous email thread. There's so much stuff I throw in there that, of course, AI could never know that's kind of my own content. It's honestly, in a weird way, training it on my own little personal set of my own little personal data set or whatever you want to call it, right? Give it a bunch of stuff, give it a bunch of stipulations, get it to write the thing. And then it writes the thing and I'm like, okay, like half of it's good, but like, modify blah, 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 does some modifications and I take it, I edit it a bit, I publish it. Okay. So technically, according to this new contract, that wouldn't be allowed because AI generated it. But there's no way anyone would be able to tell. Plus, if they tweak it a little bit and fix a few words or a few things and just pass it off as their own, like there's no way anyone would know. So on the one hand, I'm like, okay, looks like they tried to get a deal done. On the other hand, I think this is like fairly unenforceable. So I think it's probably more just like, kind of like a token deal where no one can actually like openly admit to using AI, but probably everyone's going to like use AI, at least in part, for a lot of their different things. So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. In any case, further AI generated content is not going to be acknowledged as source material, which ensures, like we said, right? Like essentially authors are worried that they're not going to get any credit for what they actually do because AI might have helped. So no one is going to be sourcing AI material on this. One of the more I think a more personal note, the contract gives writers the autonomy to use AI tools if they choose to do so. But at the same time, studios can't force writers to use particular AI tools in their work. So additionally, studios have an obligation to inform writers if they're being handed AI generated content to integrate into their projects. Really, I think, people just want to know what's AI and what isn't. They want that transparency, which, typically I'm all for transparency, but at the same time, it's kind of funny, right? Like writers are allowed to use AI tools. And of course, like, why not? It's impossible to stop them. So obviously the writers want to use AI tools. They just don't want to be forced to use a particular AI tool. And they don't want, for essentially them to be like, hey, like help work on this or that, or here's some like a scene that we want you to put in here and there. And they don't want that to be like generated by AI without them knowing, which is kind of interesting. In any case, a standout provision in this WGA contract hints at the broader legal ambiguities surrounding AI, saying, quote, the WGA reserves the right to assert that exploitation of writers' materials to train AI is prohibited by the contract or other law. This kind of indicates the contentious space between AI LLMs and copyrighted content, which is a space that's currently under, it's kind of underdefined in state and federal laws. I think there's going to be a lot more regulation and stuff that's kind of coming down the pipe in this space, but that is currently the state. But at the same time, Hollywood writers aren't the only ones kind of in the spotlight. SAG-AFTRA, which is the union representing actors, also remains on strike and has recently shown a strong intent to push back against the video game industry. So their concerns echo the WGA's, and it's mostly just like surrounding AI. They worry that these could be weaponized to kind of undercut union members, especially as technology pushes to scan or even replicate voices for use in AI and media, right? So like you could go use a tool like 11 Labs, you give it like a minute of yourself talking and it can clone your voice. And they're kind of worried that people will have more sophisticated versions. I think some that I've seen are, people are worried that essentially deep fakes will be made of them. There was like this recent debacle where someone made like a deep fake of Tom Cruise and used it to like promote some dental insurance or something. And he was like, hey, that's not me, blah, blah, blah. I'm just probably going to sue them. I don't know. But in any case, the whole deep fake thing, I think they're concerned about. So there's kind of like a bit of a telling statement on their website, which kind of, I think, underscores this, which says, quote, for many performers, their first job may be their last as companies become increasingly eager to scan our members or train AI with their voices as soon as they show up for work. I think when like the studios kind of pushed back on this, like pretty much what they were saying is like, we don't want our actors to go there. You like do a 3D scan of them, get a scan of their voice, send them away, and then just use their likeness forever pretty much. And studios were saying, no, we're paying people for a full day's work if they came, and then we would just use them like in the context of a specific film if they agree to it or whatever. So I don't really know. That seems more like a play-by-play contract, but I guess it's kind of something that they're trying to litigate, or the strike is kind of going after. So I think while it's uncertain how the SAG-AFTRA negotiations are going to unfold, the WGA's resolution I think provides a bit of a glimpse into how industries might address AI's kind of impact into creative sectors. I think it's definitely a pioneering move for now. It lays down, essentially what people are trying to get out of it in the entertainment industry. it'll be interesting to see what sticks, what doesn't, what they're able to, essentially do, and how this unfolds in the future as it pertains to AI and entertainment.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.